Hello everyone and happy Friday. Welcome to the Mylio Photos coffee break. My name is Angela Andrew and today we're going to be talking about how to get the most out of map view in Mylio Photos. This is going to be a fun subject and hopefully you guys pick up some tips and tricks that you haven't known before to make this view more useful for you. Before we dive in, I do want to let you know that we have live Q&A, which are events that you can drop into anytime on Tuesday and Thursday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, and bring your questions. These are kind of an open forum. They're very informal, and they are a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys can jump in and join me for one of those next week. They are every Tuesday and Thursday. And then next Friday, our coffee break, we're going to talk about face tagging 101. So we're kind of going back to the basics because we've had a lot of new people come to our sessions recently, and I want to make sure that they understand those fundamentals of what Mylio Photos is capable of. So we're going to dive into face tagging and some of those best practices and time savers that I've come across in my use of Mylio Photos next week. Again, 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. With that, let's go ahead and jump into today's presentation. And we're going to talk about organizing by place. The reason that this is important is it helps with storytelling, it helps with the memory, it keeps the history. Location information is so very important. So what you're going to learn today is how to explore using the map view and how that information also translates into other areas of Mylio Photos. You'll learn ways to find and fix missing GPS data, how to batch tag media, and how to use that information to plan, reminisce, and relive your adventures using Photo Explorer. It's another tool that we don't talk about a whole lot, but it's really fun, and it's a great way to use that information that's already in your pictures to learn more about the other things in your library and just explore. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you have questions as we go through, we do have Lori here with us today, so she's going to be monitoring the chat, and if there's something that needs to be answered that's relevant to what we're talking about, she'll go ahead and interrupt me and let me know. Otherwise, we'll have some time at the end for open Q&A, and you can ask questions on map view, GPS, or anything else Mylio related. So let's go ahead and dive in. First off, why is this information important? So we really focus in on the map view in Mylio Photos because different people remember things different ways. We have things like the life calendar for if you remember when something happened, you're going to love the calendar. If you remember who was there, the people view is all for you. But if you're the type of person who remembers where something happened, you might not remember exactly who was there or when it was, but you do remember that it happened in this particular place. That is where the map view comes in really handy. You can find things very easily based on where something happened. And it helps preserve that historical context. So if you're taking a look at some of your scan family photos, those historical things, adding in this location information adds that context, adds that story, keeps that history alive. So this is really essential because we have a lot of images that don't necessarily have GPS information built in. If you're using a smartphone to take your pictures, unless you've gone in and disabled it, those are getting GPS information automatically. But if you're taking pictures with a DSLR mirrorless camera that doesn't have built-in GPS, or you're bringing in scanned photos, those also don't have GPS, so you have to go in and manually add that information. So that adds to the context, it adds to the story, and that's why this is important. So there are different ways that you can explore by location in Mylio Photos. Of course, we're all very familiar with the map view, which is where you can see all of your pictures there on the map. But we also have the library stats, which you can show things by place. And you can also search using dynamic search to find specific places. So let's go ahead and jump into Mylio really quick and take a look at these three options. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over here to Mylio. And the first thing I want to do here is go to my map view. And this is probably the one you're most familiar with. You can see different pictures, areas here. These are where I've taken different pictures, and I can even scroll over to Europe. I can see different places I visited, and that's a really quick and easy way to find pictures. Navigating this is super simple. Let's say I want to find the pictures I've taken in France. I can just click on this pin, and that's going to jump me to all of these pictures that I have from my trip many years ago to Paris. I can also say, oh, I want to see the pictures from when I was in Egypt. I can go and click on that, and I can see those images as well. So that's a great way to do that. You can also zoom in and zoom out. So if you want to get in and get a more detailed look, you'll see as I start to zoom in, those pins start to spread out and they show a more detailed, granular view on the map. So that's a great way to be able to find things based on where they happened. The other thing that you might not have realized is that there's a find up here at the top. So if you're looking for a specific location, let's say I want to find the times that I went up to Bellevue, Washington to visit the Mylio team. I can just type in Bellevue. There we go. It actually probably help if I spell it properly. There we go. Bellevue, Washington. And there we go. There's the times that I've been to the Seattle area to do stuff with the Mylio team. And I can even zoom in here and see those specific trips. So that's a really great way to find things inside the map view. Outside of that, we also have under the dashboard here on the left, you can go here to library stats, and there's a section here called places. And this shows you a little heat map of where all of your pictures are taken. So you can see lit up brightly here on the map in pink is where I've taken photos. You can also go down to these sections below. You can expand these and you can go in and say, oh, I want to see all of the pictures I took in Hawaii or so forth. So you can explore that way, and it's another fun way to move around and find specific images. And then finally, we always have dynamic search, which lets you find things based on what you type in. And I will say that this works best if you use quotation marks around, say, a city or a place that has multiple words. So I'm going to type in Avila Beach here. I already have it here as a recent search. Go ahead and click on that. That's going to bring up pictures that are related to that. It's going to bring up folders that have that name, but it also has a section here for places. So anything that has GPS information already in it for these places are going to show up here under this places section. So that's another way to find things based on what's in the picture. So let's go ahead and take a look here at what makes it show up in map view. So there are a few different things that you can add in Mylio Photos. You'll see here in the screenshot, we have a lot of different fields, but in order for it to show up in map view, it has to have GPS coordinates. You can have filled in all the rest of this information manually, but unless you add in a GPS coordinate, it will not show in the map. So if you add in just a name or place, make sure you also drag it onto the map to get those GPS coordinates. Otherwise, it's not going to show up in the map view. Now, if you just want it to be searchable, you're going to use dynamic search. That will still show up. So if you can go ahead and put in a location shown or some other information up here, that will show when you do a search. But in order to show in the map view, you've got to have these GPS coordinates. All right. So what do you do when stuff doesn't have the right coordinates or you need to add it? There are a couple of different ways we can do this. The first one is the easiest, obviously, when it's automatic. And that's when it's coming from our phones, our cell phones, or our GPS-enabled cameras. And that's going to just embed it directly into the metadata, and Mylio reads that, picks it up, and displays it on the map. You don't have to do anything crazy. Now, for the pictures taken with your DSLR, mirrorless, or scanned photos that don't have this stuff in there, there are a few different ways you can do this. You can drag and drop a picture onto the map in the info panel. You can take the GPS coordinates from a similar image and copy them into that GPS field, or you can type in a location. Like I said, you do want to make sure that when you type in that location, you realize that if you don't have specific GPS coordinates, it will not show in the map. The location will be searchable, but it won't show in the map. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how to do this. So dragging and dropping onto the map in the info panel is the easiest thing to do. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to some pictures here, and I'm going to grab, let's find something that doesn't have GPS here. So let's see here. A lot of these do right now. I'm looking at a lot of pictures that have, let's see, let me find something that I want to tag. 1 second. All right, let's grab this one here. This was actually, my mom took this picture. This is on Mount Etna in Sicily. And we were out there just exploring. And I want to add this to my map. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my grid view. So I'm going to hit the G key on my keyboard to go back, or you can click the little back arrow up in the upper left corner. And we're going to open up the info panel here on the right. And to make this a little bit easier, what I'm going to do is make this bigger. And I want to pull this out and make that column larger. That makes this column a little easier to deal with. Now, the other thing you can do here is under places, there's a little arrow on the map, and that makes your map big. And again, you can make this bigger here and pull that out. And I'm going to go ahead and just type in Mount Etna and Sicily and see what this pulls up for me. That'll get me pretty close. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. Let's go ahead and grab this one here. There you go. It's popped me right there above the crater. So we weren't up at the crater when I took this picture. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit far. You can see how, crazy big this is. It's a massive volcano. Really cool place. All right. So in this picture, we were down over here, I think in this area somewhere. So I want to add that location to this picture. All I need to do is click on this image and drag it over here to the map. I can then reposition it and click the little check mark. And that image now has GPS information. And I can see that it does because it now has this little GPS pin on it. And that is super easy to do. If I ever want to take this and adjust that placement, all I need to do is right click on that and say edit location. And I can then move this around and check mark, and that's now locked in there. Now, if you're in single image view, this one here, this was taken at Agrigento, also in Sicily. And I want to add this one to the map as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in Agrigento and Sicily. See what this pulls up for us. Perfect. Agrigento, Italy. And I'm going to actually zoom in here because this was actually down in the ancient area. So I'm trying to find exactly where this was. I think that's right around in here. So if you go ahead from single image view, you can't just drag onto the map. That's just going to go ahead and kind of mess things up. So if you want to drag and drop, you'll need to be in grid view. But if you are in single image view, let me go ahead and I'm going to just pull Agrigento back up here, get back into this area. What you can do is simply click on the map. Actually, right click on the map, sorry. Right click on the map, and that's going to just pop that pin on there for the single image. So then you can then move this around, and I'm going to go ahead and I think, trying to remember exactly where the ancient area was. I think it was down, let's just say right there. And I can go ahead and hit that check mark, and that's now got GPS information. So for a single image, right click on the map. If you're in grid view, you can drag and drop. The other thing we can do here is copy and paste from a similar image. So let me go back over here. I'm going to go back to my grid view. And here's another picture, same place that I was just had that picture with my dad. Here's one I have with my mom. So what I can do actually is I'm going to go ahead and close this map view up, go down here to my places, go back to that previous image. I can click into this field and Command or Control C to copy that, and then go to the next image, go here into the GPS coordinates and Command or Control V to paste. And now that has the GPS coordinates, and I copied and pasted from a similar image. This is also a really good way to do it if you have pictures that you took with your cell phone, and then you have pictures that you took with your DSLR or mirrorless camera. You can go ahead and take a similar image from the same location off of your cell phone, grab those GPS coordinates, and copy it to the stuff from your DSLR or mirrorless camera. It's a great way to do it. Finally, you can type in the location. That is when you want to go ahead and take something that you have and you just want to go ahead and take that picture and you want to type this in. I don't remember where exactly this was. This was either at the Hotel del Coronado or this was at the Hyatt downtown. Instead, since I don't remember the exact location, I'm just going to go ahead and type in San Diego and California and United States. And I can go ahead and do that. So this will then be searchable under San Diego. So when I search for San Diego, this picture will pop up. But because I don't have exact GPS coordinates, it will not show in the map view. So those are some of the ways that you can add that information or correct it if you need to on your pictures. Now, how do you find that untagged media? There's a few good ways to do this in Mylio Photos. The first one is while you're browsing the grid view, look for that little map pin on your pictures. To show you what that looks like here, I'm going to go ahead and make this here smaller. Bring that back small and go back here to my grid view. There we go. And you'll see that some of these pictures have this little pin. Those ones that we just added the information to, that's because those have GPS information. The ones that do not have that pin, like this one here, do not. So that's one at-a-glance way to tell what has GPS information and what doesn't. You can also click the View Untagged in the map view. And if you go into the map view down in the bottom left corner, you'll see a little button. And a lot of times people miss this because it's tiny and it's down there in the bottom. but there's a button here to view untagged. And that's going to immediately filter your library to show you all of the media that isn't tagged. So let me show you where to find that really quick. We're gonna go to our map view. Down here in the bottom left, there it is, view untagged. And that brings me to GPS tagged 0, meaning it doesn't have GPS information. And there we go. So that's one way to find it. The other way to do this is also to do it with quick filters. And you can enter in the by custom area. I did GPS tagged no. You can do that 0 as well. They get you the same thing. So I just type in here, I'm gonna go into my, let's go here to the filters and close up the navigation. Down here by custom, there's my GPS tag no, or you can just type it in, and that's gonna do the same thing. It's going to filter my list to show me everything that does not have GPS information. And you can go ahead and use this kind of filter on a specific folder. So let's say we just wanna look at a specific folder. I'm gonna go into my main photos folder, and we're gonna start cleaning some of these things up. So if here from 2025, let's just go ahead and pin 2025, what pictures from this year don't have GPS information? And then I can go ahead and start adding those very, very easily. All right, so batch tagging. What do you wanna do if you have multiple images that need to go to roughly the same area on the map? Again, super easy. This is the drag and drop. You select a bunch of images and you just drag them onto the map. So I have a folder of images, the Campo trains, this is the Pacific Southwest Railway Museum, and I wanna show you how I'm gonna tag this entire folder all in one go. So what I'm gonna do is go back over here to Mylio, I'm gonna clear out my filters, and I'm gonna go here to search, and I'm gonna type in Campo trains. There we go. It's gonna pull up that Campo Railway Museum. I can then find that folder very easily. And there we go. We are now in that folder, and I can go ahead and add GPS information to all of these images. Now this museum is huge. It covers several acres, and I'm not gonna go through the trouble of trying to figure out which rail car to pin each one. Just pinning it in that general area for me is acceptable. You might feel a little bit differently. You might wanna be a little bit more granular. That's a personal choice. But what I'm gonna do here is just do a Command or Control A to select everything. You can also go down here to the Actions menu in the bottom right and choose Select All. And that selects every picture that you have in this particular folder. Then I'm gonna go here and go down to that little mini map. So we're gonna go here to Places, and we're gonna type in the location. So this was, what did I say this was called? Pacific Southwest Railway Museum. See if that pulls it up. Perfect. And I'm gonna go ahead and bounce this out a little bit further. Let me type that in one more time. Actually, I know that it's right down here. So I'm just gonna zoom in. It is right down over here. So what I can do then is just grab all these images. So click back over here, grab this because they're all selected. They're all gonna come, and I can then just drop those onto the map. That's 376 pictures there that I just tagged. I can say, yes, that's the right location. And it's gonna assign GPS information to all of those images. It really is that simple. You don't have to be super granular with your tagging with GPS. You can get very detailed if you want to. And obviously, the more detail you add, the better for searching later on. But having some information is better than having no information. That's my personal motto. So you can go ahead and take that and run with it as you like. But that makes it easiest for me. So next, one of the questions that I've been getting a lot lately is, why do GPS coordinates sometimes show the wrong address? So whether you took it with your phone, whether you plugged in manual coordinates, you go in and plug in those coordinates and it auto-populates with address information. But sometimes that address is not exactly correct. You can go in here and type in the correct address. It's not going to change your GPS coordinates, but it will change that other reference information. And if that bothers you, I highly recommend going in and making those manual changes. But the reason that this happens is that reverse geocoding, which is the process of taking those GPS coordinates and then basically interpolating that into an actual address, isn't perfect. So sometimes maps just don't get it right. GPS is also not an exact science. Signals can be off because of different things in the way, bad weather, weak reception. So they might be pointing to the wrong place. Also, different map services give different results. The map service we use in Mylio is slightly different from what Apple uses and what from Google uses and for what Bing uses. They're all a little bit different. They're very similar, but those exact points on the map might vary. And then finally, new neighborhoods, remote areas, the maps might also not have most current information. So sometimes those addresses are not going to perfectly line up with what that GPS says. So those are some of the reasons. And I actually did a little bit of research on this morning because I got this question the other day at a live Q&A. And it's pretty much along the lines of what I shared that day, but I went in and talked to ChatGPT a little bit to find out exactly why this happens. And these are the reasons it gave me. So I thought that was really helpful and figured I'd go ahead and plug those into the presentation and pass that along. All right. Once you have added information into Mylio Photos for your location, there are a few different fun ways that you can use it beyond just using it to search and find specific things. We have a tool called Photo Explorer, which lets you jump to specific information. It'll jump you to the map view, of course, so you can go ahead and click on it, jump to the map in Mylio and see exactly where something was taken. But this works especially well with your modern photos that are coming off a smartphone that have that exact GPS information. It can open it up in your preferred web app or web map. Apple, Bing, Google, or OpenStreetMaps are all options. You can set those in the settings in Mylio. The first time you use this tool, it'll ask you to pick. I believe I have mine set to Google, but you can go into the More menu, which is the 3 dots in the upper right, Settings, General, and choose your preferred map provider. And this is really cool because it allows you to zoom in on the map and see what else is in that area. Now you can see some of this in the map in Mylio, but looking at something like Google Maps or Apple Maps gives you more information because they're going to be more up to date on what businesses are in the area and different things to do. So if you're like, I remember that we went there and we had a really good meal. What else is around that? I want to plan a date night around this. And that's a really good way to go and explore. So let me show you how this works here really quick. I'm going to go ahead and go back here to my all photos, and I'm going to pull my map down, make it much smaller again. And let's go to the top and find one of my more recent images. So this old truck was sitting in front of a restaurant that my husband and I frequent. And I did take this one with my cell phone. And up here at the very top, this is the Photo Explorer icon, this little compass. If you click on that, you can explore the location on the map, which is going to take you to Mylio's map view. Or you can say explore location on the web. And that's going to go ahead and jump you to your web browser and open up a map and show you exactly where that is. If it's a restaurant that you like to eat at and you want to make a reservation, you can go ahead and use this to go ahead and go, oh, let me call that restaurant or let me make an order online because that's where I want to go. And then you can just kind of zoom around and see what else is in that area and get a bird's eye view of what else is going on there. So it's just a really neat tool to help you explore and get more out of your photos. Photo Explorer, I think, is really useful. I'd really love to know how you guys are using it as well. So if you have any comments on that, please share that in the chat and we'll make sure to take a look at those. All right, so I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to go over today. The things that I would love for you to take away from this presentation is using the map view as a great way to explore by location. Use the left sidebar to see where your photos were taken. There's that navigation over there on the left. Let me point that out really quick. So if you go into the map view, and I'm going to go ahead and close the filters, you'll notice we have, go back here, this little navigation here. And if you open that up, you actually have a little tree view to see the different places in your map. So you can go ahead and click on one of these and go, okay, I want to see everything I took in Bodie. And then there's all my pictures from Bodie. So it's just another great way to find things in Mylio. I do encourage you to tag your scanned images or DSLR images with GPS info. It makes them more searchable. Just drag them onto the map or copy and paste that GPS information from another picture. Super, super easy. Batch tagging is an awesome thing. I do encourage you not to get too bogged down being too specific with the details. Don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Try to get at least some information on there, and then you can always take a few images and refine those locations later on if you want to be more granular. Just because you put a general location on a set of images doesn't mean that that's, they're in the stone and it's gonna, you can always adjust them later. Fix mistakes and clean up metadata. Use the info panel to review and correct anything that's inaccurate or missing. And then, of course, make use of all this data that you're adding to your pictures by using dynamic search. It's an amazing tool and it finds so many different things that you would not necessarily have expected it to surface when you're looking for something specific. So I hope that helps everybody, that this is a good session, brings you some additional information, some tips and things that you hadn't thought about when using map view and location and GPS and Mylio Photos. With that, I want to go ahead and open up the floor to questions and see what you guys have for me today. So let me take a look here in the chat.
Angela, Greg sent a direct message, so I'm going to just tell you what he's asking here. Is there a way to indicate GPS location if it's either 1, manually set, or 2, approximate?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Do you want to unmute and ask Greg?
Yes. I'm wondering if there's a way to distinguish photos that have been tagged by your camera at the time it was taken versus distinguishing photos that I've set the tag for.
Gotcha. There is not. The only thing that I would suggest you could do with that is add a keyword or something that indicates that you did manual GPS on that one. But there is there's no way to differentiate that you added this after the fact or it was included with the camera. I suppose one way you could do that is with most images and with the way Mylio handles metadata. If you really wanted to go hunting, you could look in the EXIF data for your actual picture, see what's embedded in the picture versus what's in the XMP file. And if it's only in the XMP file and not embedded, then that was likely added after the fact. But that's kind of a tedious way to do that. All right, another one here from Greg is Photo Explorer shareable as part of a shared album that includes photos that are geotagged. It is not, but you can go and pull up one of those links and then you can send that link to somebody separately, but it is not part of the shared album. Christy says, my map view is simple, gray flat map. How do you get the satellite view? Ooh, good question. So here in Mylio, if I go back here to my map view, there are different map options. So let me go ahead and zoom back out here and I'm going to close up the navigation. Excuse me. Up here in the More menu, you have an option here for map style. So there's 3 different options. We have standard, we have satellite hybrid, and we have topographical. So you can choose which one you like and go ahead and change that up. So I think this one is my favorite, the satellite hybrid, but different people use different things. I know that our head of customer support, he likes the topographical because he goes out and does a lot of hiking. And with that one, you can see a lot of the hiking trails, you can see the elevation and things like that. So different people like different types of maps, so that's why we have a few options. All right, Jeannie says, I found that if I know an address but do not have the GPS info, I find the address on Google Maps and then the GPS info that Google connects with the address and then copy that and paste that into the GPS field in Mylio. Works for me. Excellent tip. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jeannie. And apparently Lisa does that too. All right, what other questions do you guys have for me? I don't see any other hands up. Does anybody else have a question today? If not, we can go ahead and wrap up. I hope this was a good session for you guys, that you learned a little bit more about the map view and what location information can do for you in Mylio Photos. Just a quick reminder that we have live Q&A next Tuesday and Thursday. Hope you guys can drop in and come and see me for those. They're a lot of fun. They're very informal. It's a great time to chat and just learn a little bit about each other and what you guys are doing with Mylio, and hopefully I can answer your questions and make sure you guys are having a great experience. On Friday, we'll have our next coffee break, and that will be about face tagging and some of the best practices and time savers that I've learned in my time. So I look forward to that and hope you'll join me for that as well. With that, I want to wish you guys a wonderful rest of your day. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.